Today's episode of BSing with Y Eagle Y is powered by W, the clean energy drink brand that's flipping the script on big energy. Started in a small apartment with a big dream, W brings you jitter-free, crash-free energy with zero sugar, zero calories, and zero artificial colors and dyes. Just clean, focused fuel to help you be better every day. With over 15 epic custom-made flavors and thousands of fans backing them, W isn't just another energy drink. It's a movement. Ready to give it a shot? We've got you. Check the episode description after the live, and you'll find our 10% off discount code just for our listeners. Fuel up with W, and let's get to BSing. Tonight, we got Barker, and he's a returning guest from past episodes. He's a current government employee with 13 Army, active duty 6 years, 2 inactive, native to Tennessee. So tonight, we're going to be talking on a few subjects. We'll start off with having Barker explain a little bit about what unions for federal employees do, being that the current state of the unions for federal employees are having some issues. When you all use the union, what kind of backup or support did it give you and your coworkers?
So, of course, I'm a government employee, and we've got unions in place, just like various other federal subsidies have unions in place and stuff. And we've got, they have what they call a collective bargaining agreement. So basically, they come in. I'm not exactly sure how the whole union thing works with if it's a nationwide thing or if it's cut down to a region or a certain area or something. But anyway, where I'm at, we have what they call a collective bargaining agreement. So they come out and they generate this collective bargaining agreement, which basically has a set of rules. It says, this is what the government can do. This is what the government can't do. This is what civilian employees can do. This is what they can't do. Kind of limits what the government can do to civilian employees, but it's got a balance of power that the government can use too, like a example of that. So I work in healthcare. Patient care comes first. So if, let's say, we're short staffed, I work my 80 hours a pay period and they're short staffed. They don't have anybody. They need somebody to cover a particular shift or something along that way. They can ask me. Of course, most of the time I'd volunteer, and I think most people would volunteer. But, let's say nobody wants to work that. We've already been working our butts off. We don't want to work that holiday or something like that. The union comes in and they make it to where the government can say, hey, tough shit, you're going to have to work the holiday. It's just that simple. Now, the union plays kind of devil's advocate for both government and employees. The union says the government can sit there and make you work that holiday, but then on the reverse side of it, to benefit the employee, they make it to where it has to be a balanced thing, to where you don't have the same employee that's having to do it all the time. They make it like a rotating thing, or they make it what they call fair and equitable. So that way the same person doesn't get volunteered all the time. So they do, that's just one of the many examples that they do. But I mean, I want to say they kind of work well with both. But anyway, when they're doing the collective bargaining agreement and everything, it's not like they just come up with a set of rules and the government has to accept it. It's all negotiated. So, if the government doesn't like something, they say, hey, we don't like that. We'd like to change it to this. They do their negotiations. And then when they finally agree to something, that's what they do. So I guess it kind of comes with the good and the bad. It's supposed to equal things out a little bit, but sometimes more favoritism towards the government employee, I guess you could say. It just all depends on a certain situation.
Yeah. So what would you say would happen if you lost the unions altogether? Would you think that the federal government would just run with it and use and abuse the employees, or what?
I mean, it's kind of hard to say. I think it could be a mixture of that. So right now, the union has this collective bargaining agreement, which basically says that they agreed, the government agreed, these are the rules. So now let's say that the unions are gone because, Trump did sign that executive order. The executive order, I don't think it's, the way I understand it, it's not to ban the unions. He's using some kind of act of 1978. I can't remember exactly what it is, but basically it allows him to say these places can have unions and these places can't have unions. And the excuse he's using uh, for this particular instance is national security. Now, I don't exactly know how national security, I'm a DoD employee, so I totally get how national security involves that. But I don't know how you can make the national security as for like USDA or Department of Agriculture, stuff like that. Like, I don't understand how the broad national security plays affect both of those, you know? Like, I can't imagine they're doing anything on a national security level to where they can't have a union because it would potentially disrupt their ability to work, is what it amounts to. Now I know it was originally he did the executive order for everything. Then of course the unions went to fight for the employees and everything because he came down with kind of a blanket, we're getting rid of everybody. If you fall in this parameter, if you were hired in the past year and you're still under probation, you're gone. See you later. Have a good day. I think some of it, I think there's a lot of government issues, a lot of things where he can step in and say, hey, this is not necessary. Hey, this is ridiculous. Hey, why do we have 5 people doing a job that 2 people can do? You know, I get that. But to come down with just like a blanket mandate and say, hey, um, if you were hired in the last year, I don't care if you're a nurse, a doctor, a pharmacist, construction worker, EMT, engineer, it doesn't matter. If you're hired in the past year, see you later. Have a good day. Like, to me, I don't see how you can make a mass thing that involves every. I could understand saying, hey, we need to get rid of this amount of people and kind of leaving it to your department heads to kind of shelter out how they want to do it. Hey, if it involves patient care, we want to touch those people last. Hey, if it involves law enforcement, we want to touch those people last. Hey, if it involves public health, let's touch them
Absolutely.
last. You know, like making it a blank mandate to go after everybody. So the union stepped up and they said, hey, you can't do it. And they launched all these lawsuits. Well, at that point, um, I think he basically just came out and said that if you're not with me, you're against me. And he found a loop around, which was this whole um act of 1978. Again, I don't remember the exact name of that particular act. You might have to look it up. But he like a Civil Service Act of 1978, something like that. But anyway, he found the loop around so that he could get rid of the unions by saying, this is a national security issue. Because it's a national security issue, well, you don't qualify for unions. We're getting rid of them. So, as it stands with me now, I think everybody is a little different depending on where they are and what their collective bargaining agreements are. But as far as where I'm at right now, everything's kind of on limbo. So they are still following union guidelines. Nothing's been gotten rid of with unions and stuff like that where I'm at because it's basically it's going to have to make its way all the way up to the Supreme Court, from my understanding. I believe
So it's pretty
initially,
much in limbo.
yeah, it's kind of in limbo. I think when I did my research and kind of looked into it, it was a California judge that basically said, Trump, you're going after the unions because they don't agree with you and they're kind of bucking the system. So he put a freeze on, and then it made it up to one of the circuit courts. I don't remember which one it was. I don't know if it's the Ninth Circuit Court or something like that, but they pretty much agreed and said, hey, Trump, sorry, you can't do that. So you're taking the power. I think they're saying they're taking the power from Congress because the layoffs that he's doing are mass layoffs. It's not just, hey, we're reducing a few people here, reducing a few people here. It's a mass layoff. You're talking about getting rid of potentially half the government employees, you know? So I mean that's a huge undertaking. So now I think it's all in limbo until it goes to the Supreme Court. Who knows when that's gonna take place. But I've seen mixed things happen. I've got friends in various different places, and it's kind of all affecting them slightly differently. As far as as far as me,
Excuse
we
me.
still have our union in effect. People are still paying their union dues and stuff like that that want to. And just because you don't pay the union dues doesn't mean you don't have representation. People are still being or people are still being represented by the unions, but um, they're making it harder for the unions to collect money because they did come out and make it to where your dues don't automatically come out of your paychecks anymore. So now people are actually having to write separate checks to pay the unions. So when you got a union that's fighting for you and they're having to spend millions of dollars to keep these cases in court and to do what they need to do to try and protect these people's rights, and then all of a sudden the president says, guess what, you can't take union dues no more. It's kind of a smart move. You're stripping their money from them. So they are having to go about trying to get funds differently. And that's having to be done by contacting people individually. Like I got a text message the other day asking me to pay union dues. This is how I can go about doing it, and this, and this, because they're not taking union dues out of paychecks. So as far as the benefits that I've seen with the union, they make rules. The rules are supposed to be somewhat equal for the government side and the civilians and everything. I can't say I personally have had to use the union in a big way, so I can't say I've seen a big, or I don't have much of a impression of the unions as far as how they help or how they don't help. So I can't say much to that, but I do think that they do a good job for the most part. But I do think they're just like any other corporation. They have failures and they have things that makes them look not so good. Like perfect example of that is when they came out with DHA. I guess it was about 2 or 3 years ago when they started implementing all that stuff. I guess it was about 2 years ago. But anyway, when DHA came out with, because that's who we fall under now for healthcare employees, but when they were coming up with their bargaining agreements and their contracts and all that stuff, they spent, I believe it was about somewhere between $3 and $3 million coming up with a bargaining agreement and everything, which is insane when you think about
A
it
lot
because
of money.
it's a lot of money, and it's that's probably I think the average that these union people spend a year is maybe $300,000, give or take, and here they are spending like $3 million, $3.5 million to come up with this stuff. You got to think most of these union people, um, I think it kind of goes through an election process and stuff like that, as far as union members voting people in and stuff like that. But they're federal employees, so they may have an 8 hour day, and out of that 8 hour day, they're doing 6 hours of their actual job that they were hired for, and then they're getting paid to do another 2 hours elsewhere and get paid for it because it's part of the union. So it's not to say they're double dipping. I think they still have to submit leave when they do their union stuff, but they're allotted so much time to do union related things, and they get paid for it, and then they don't get penalized.
My question to you is, do you think Trump, President Trump, done this in a way to get to the three-letter organizations, like FBI, CIA, some way to get, use that red tape to be able to get rid of who he needed to get rid of within these three-letter organizations? You
Oh,
think that's a move?
absolutely. I mean, I think everything that he's done is has been carefully and thoughtfully planned out and coordinated. I mean, I think all of it has. I agree with a lot of stuff that he's doing. I think there's a lot of federal waste out there. I think a lot of fat could be trimmed from the sides. I think we spend way too much on stuff. I mean, it's kind of like that joke in Independence Day where they go down there to the lab and that guy says, "You didn't think they spent $300 on a hammer and $800 on a toilet seat?" Yeah, I mean, it's I think it's a lot of fat could be trimmed with the federal government, and even at where I'm working at now, it's when Biden was there, we had an influx of hiring people. Now we did get patient care people, and that was good. We got some contractors and stuff like that that we need for patient care, but we saw a surplus of administrative roles that were hired that you didn't need. Like it was nice for them to have them, but you didn't need it,
Yeah.
and you could do without it if you needed to. And unfortunately, I think Trump's coming out and he's got the right plan. It's let's get rid of all this extra spending that we're doing. Let's try and capitalize on what we have and get rid of what we don't need. But you're going to have casualties in war, and that's kind of what it is. He's launched a war kind of against the federal employees, federal government system. There, he's trying to trim the fat off everything, get extra money where he can, so that we're not running up this $36 trillion debt that we continue to run up. And unfortunately, you're going to have some casualties with good people being let go and bad people being let go. But I
Mm.
think all of this was a very planned and coordinated way of doing it. I mean, even when he came out and the White House came out and he said that, if you're with me, but you're against me is what it amounted to. If you're going to buck the system and keep me from being able to do what I needed to do as far as the unions go, then I'm going to find a way to get around it. And he did. He did it with the that Civil Service Act in 1978. I don't think it's ever been enacted before, based on what I've seen, or maybe it was enacted once or twice, but not any time recent. Probably not any time in my lifetime. But he did. He enacted it, and now it's just a point of the court systems coming out and saying you can't blanketly say that national security is for everything. Does the Department of Treasury need national security? Probably. Does the Department of Defense need it? Probably. Homeland Security? Absolutely. FBI, CIA? 100%. But why does the Department of Agriculture, or why does the USDA, or why does the Department of Wildlife and whatever? I mean, there's several
Yeah.
departments out there that you're like, how is this a national security thing? So that kind of goes back to me saying he kind of threw out a blanket cover everything instead of saying, well, let's review who needs it, who doesn't need it, and let's go from there. So I think he's got the right plan. He's got the right attitude, but it's just piss poor execution. It's kind of what I'm saying. And
Would you say?
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. So, would you say if you did lose the union, would you have issues with job security, scheduling,
You know,
maybe pay harder to maybe it's harder to deal with, the federal level?
so one of the things about the union is they do try to help negotiate pay incentives for us. Okay, so typically they come out with some wild ass number like we want a 12% pay raise, and that's not what happens. I think this year we got maybe it was somewhere between a 2 to 4% pay raise this year, which was totally well underneath the inflation rate
Mm.
that everybody felt. And
Yeah, you're paying a lot more for groceries.
right, right. So they do some good things for us, like trying to help negotiate pay and various other things like that. For what I see them doing, I guess the biggest thing would be is let's say it goes to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court comes out and they say, hey, Trump absolutely has the power to get rid of unions or to at least say that certain agencies are not allowed to have unions. And they may say you have to go through there and take a fine tooth comb, find out which agencies don't have unions, because you can't say all the government agencies can't have unions. You're going to have to, fine tune it a little bit. But let's say they come out and DOD, DHA is one of those that they come out and say, hey, you don't get to have a federal union because it's national security. I get that, and that's fine. I guess my concern would be is what happens to the bargaining agreements that we that they kind of put the rules and the regulations out there for as far as what the government can do, what civilians can do, things like that. I think a lot of it's going to go more towards the government side. So let's say, um, let's say we got this one individual at work, which I think everybody probably does. That's just a POS. He's there to collect a paycheck, or she's there to collect a paycheck. They're not worth a damn. They don't work. They're just garbage, right? uh, the way the union rules are written out now is those people are protected. Say that person's been there for 7 years, they're pretty much protected unless they just royally screwed something up. They're pretty protected. They got time invested. They've been there for 7 years. It's kind of hard to get rid of them. It's kind of like people say, government employees are hard to fire. They kind of are hard to fire. I think if the unions go away and all that stuff, you're going to see a change there. It's not going to be based on how long an employee's been there, how long if they have veterans preference. I think a lot of that stuff's going to go away, and it's going to turn into hey, y'all can do what you want with who you want. So if you got an employee that's West, guess what? Y'all want to get rid of them? Get rid of them. It's not going to turn into a whole merit system of, well, we've got to cross our T's and dot our I's, and we got to start with here, and then we got to go here, and then we got to go here, and then we got to go here, and it's going to take 6 months before we can do any of this shit. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's literally going to be somebody walking in and saying, hey, buddy, here's your pink slip. You're done. You've been a piece of shit for the last 2 years. You don't do anything. We're done. See you later. Have a good day. Thanks for your service.
Yep.
And I think a lot of it's going to go that way. And I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with that, but like I said, you're going to have some casualties in there where somebody that's been there, let's say 7 months, took the job. They've got the experience. They do great. They really haven't had an evaluation because they've only been there for 6 months or so. And then the department's told, hey, you're going to have to get rid of somebody. Now, what would you do if you had a person that you hired that's been there for 7 months? So far, they've done great. No issues. They do what they're told. They come to work on time or even earlier than they're supposed to be there to make sure they got all their ducks in a row. If you ask them for overtime, they don't have any issues doing that. If you're short here and you say, hey, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? They volunteer for stuff. They're a good employee, somebody that you want to keep in house, good person. But they've only been there for 6 months and they really don't have any performance evaluations or anything. Well, now you got a person that's been there for 6 years, who's been a piece of shit for the past 3 years, basically just there collecting a paycheck, calling out sick I don't know, every week, every other week, something along those lines. They don't even have leave or sick leave. They've been using leave without pay because they, they can't hold any leave because they miss work too much. And you're told, hey, you got to get rid of somebody. Which one are you going to get rid of? You going to get rid of the piece of shit or are you going to get rid of the person that's actually good? Ideally, you want to get rid of the person that speaks shit, right? I mean, I think that's
Yeah.
what everybody would do in any situation is get rid of the poor performance person and keep the one that's got a good job performance. But with the way that the union rules are written right now, that guy that's got 6 years that's been a piss poor performer, he's protected. You can't get rid of it. Or if you do try to get rid of him, it's really hard to get done. But if you want to get rid of that person that's been there for 6 months, you can get rid of them like that because they've been on probation for a year. But because the way the union rules are written out, you have to get rid of the probationary people before you can start touching the permanent people, kind of like tenure.
Yeah.
So it's got its mixtures of good and bad.
Yeah, that would be hard to do.
Just don't know.
As if I had my way, though, I would probably get rid of the long term guy that does nothing.
Yeah.
But
And it's hard. I don't think there's definitely not an easy way to fix any of this stuff. It's a complex beast. You can't just sit there and go in and micromanage every little thing. Trump's only got 4 years. There's no way he's got the time to walk in and micromanage something. He's kind of does have to do a blanket type order. But now there's nothing wrong with him having his lower department heads and stuff like that try and manage stuff better that way instead of just coming out with an ultimatum of let's do this, this, and this. I think you should be able to rely on those people that are in management positions, like his deputies and other people along those lines, to be able to let them adjust who they want to get rid of, how they want to do it, stuff like that. I think he should come out and say, hey, guess what? Department of Defense, you're going to get rid of 75,000 employees. You've got 6 months to do it. I don't care how you do it. You can do it any way you want to, but you need to get rid of 65 or 75,000 employees. It's just that simple. Let them do it. Let them come up with a game plan of how they want to address it, how they want to do it. Because your healthcare workers, everybody has a different plan. You got cybersecurity, but you can't put a blanket thing out there and say you've got to get rid of. So you come to DoD and you say you got to get rid of 75,000 people. You kind of want them to do it as they can based on what their goal is, what they have to achieve. So it's good to have that, but I don't think you can make a blank statement for that. DoD covers DHA, you have cybersecurity, you have all these different entities, even active duties under DoD. Okay, so if you have employees that are responsible for cybersecurity and everything, you don't want to cut too many of those people because what's the biggest thing that we have to worry about nowadays with everything being digital? Cybersecurity, right? So why in the hell would you want to sit there and cut a big portion of your cybersecurity out? When you get into healthcare, if you have to make cuts in healthcare, why do you want to cut your people that have direct care to patients? Like if I can pick administrative people, secretaries, other administrative people, I'm going to pick those people over getting rid of them versus my people that have direct care with patients. Just because if I start cutting people that actually have hands-on care with patients, eventually I'm going to get to a point where I can't provide that care to the patients. And with DOD, the patients, yeah, we see active duty, we see retirees, veterans, spouses, things like that. But our main responsibility is to make sure that the soldiers, the Marines, airmen, all that stuff, that they're combat ready to go. in case we jump off in another war or something like that. They have to be combat ready. So the biggest thing with that is training, which their units take care of, and their healthcare, dental, vision, medical, all that stuff. So if I'm going to make cuts, I'm not going to sit there and touch a whole bunch of patient care handling people. I'm going to go around and touch other areas I may not need. So an example of that is, why do I have all these contracts with these engineers when we're not building anything, and I'm paying out 5, 10, $15 million to this engineering company to have these engineers when we're not building anything? But yet I'm going to have to cut 75% of my federal workforce, and then we're going to do it evenly. So now my engineer cut equally to the people that give patient care, or it's going to be cut equally to the people that do cybersecurity, or it's going to be cut equally to the people that are on missile defense. I really think they need to evaluate not individual roles, but the roles of certain departments. Medcom, patient care, I want to touch them last. Cybersecurity, very important
Well,
to touch them people last. Missile defense,
hopefully you don't want to touch them last, but
yeah. But I
touch on the
mean,
subject, you mean?
yeah, yeah. But I just mean, if I got to get rid of people, I want to mess with those people last. Why do I need vet care? Why does the Army have vet care? Why do I have civilians that are in the military hired by the government that are doing vet care? Like, what's the importance of vet care if you tell me I have to cut people? If I've got to cut people, what's more important, vet care for animals or medical care for people? Like, you can't just write a blank check and say, get rid of all this equally. It just doesn't work that way.
Well, man, we were both in, we served, and what happened at the end of the business year where they had this money, okay? So the thing is, when each department gets money, they have to use it or they lose it. They don't get the same amount the next year.
Oh, yeah.
So this is why you get this spoiled spending.
Yep.
So if it was to where, okay, say a department said, I'm looking at needing this amount of money this year. Can you hook me up? And they went along and was like, yeah, okay, let's do that. But then if they only give them like a certain amount, and then they're like, oh my God, I'm worried about, we're not going to get that amount of money. What if we need it next year? And then they're like, we got to spend it. So let's buy a bunch of chairs,
Right.
some BS.
So
So,
every year Congress does the whole appropriated funds. So we know what we're getting. Congress sits down. Now, of course, you can't get those guys to agree to fucking anything. And they delay it and they delay it and they delay it and they delay it and they just, we're going to do a government shutdown. Like, they can't agree to anything. Congress is just a bunch of damn idiots, if you ask me, for the most part. You got some good ones, but fair majority of them are there to collect a paycheck and get rich. I don't think they're actually there to benefit the majority of any of us, to be honest with you. But you get these appropriated funds, and then of course they divvy them out where they need to go. But like you said, each department head is allotted so much money for that fiscal year, and they have teams that come around usually once every year or twice a year, once every 2 years, somewhere around there. They have these terror teams that come around and they do an accountability of like how much patient care you need, what you're spending on supplies, what you're spending on all these different things, patient care, stuff like that, and they kind of tell you how much money you're getting just to see if you're on track. Make sure that you're not under budget, but make sure you're not like grossly over budget. So like you're saying, you don't have $200,000 at the end of the year to buy a whole bunch of fucking ballpoint pens and chairs. Unfortunately, the biggest thing was when we had COVID-19. It shut all that stuff down. They didn't come out. They didn't do any terror reports. They didn't do any of that stuff. So then we go through 2 to 3 years of that whole process and not having any of those reports done. And then we go into the fiscal year for 23, fiscal year for 24, stuff like that. And they come out and they're using reports that are all the way back from 2019, 2018. Well,
yeah.
I'm sure just like like it is with healthcare, our numbers change. Like we see an increase in patients from year to year to year. So you can't give us a appropriated funds equivalent to 2019, and here we are in 2024, and expect
Yeah.
that those numbers are going to be the same, and then come complaining to us when we sit there and say, hey, we're 8 months into the new fiscal year, and guess what? We're broke. We don't have anything. We can't even buy this for this, and this. Where are we going to get the money? Like you can't do that. You can't expect to have the same funding in 2019 that you're going to have in 2024. It just doesn't work that way. And that's what they did for a lot of the government, and a lot of the DoD and stuff like that. At least from what I saw from where I was. So it's a lot of mess ups there that caused
Yeah.
a lot of problems. And it doesn't help that inflation's sky high like it is. My grocery bill's still asinine. It's high as hell, and I'm not even buying expensive stuff. I'm trying to somewhat manage what I'm buying on my grocery bill, and I'm still paying probably 20% more than what I was paying pre-COVID right now.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I haven't seen the drop in fuel, even though the barrel of oil price is very low.
yeah,
You know,
I think I just got fuel 3 days ago, and um, for the Mazda, I have to run a premium in it, and I'm still paying 3.79 for a gallon
sup
for.
Ethan, sup Ray. Sorry.
So yeah, gas is still. I'm not saying it's in the $4 and $5 range for me, but it's definitely not in the $2 range, which is kind of what I was hoping we would be right now with
So
Trump.
what's the price over there right now for you?
I think if I get just regular unleaded, it's 269, 279, something like that. I got an app on my phone.
Okay, so it's similar to what we have now here. It's
Yeah.
265 for us, which by now I figured we should have done seen under $2.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I was expecting. Yeah, here it's 269.9, so 270 a gallon for regular gas here.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, Trump's been in for, well, we're midway through the year now almost, so 6 months, and I was expecting things to be a little
must
better.
be nice. 240 across the way from us. So Ethan says 240, and they're about an hour and 20 minutes away.
Yeah, it's about 270 here is where we're at. Uh,
Huh.
so 270 in Tennessee, and y'all are at what, 260, give or take, 240?
Dude, Florida was 290.
Yeah.
So to get the boys was like 290 something, for regular unleaded.
I was expecting a lot of stuff to change. Now, mind you, Trump's been in and everything, but everything he's done, he's gotten pushback from. Everything he's done, he's gotten pushback from. He's gotten pushback from even the commanders that he's getting rid of the transgender stuff. I actually got an email in my box the other day. Apparently, he's putting all the transgender military people out.
Damn, no more dress up, Ray.
Yeah, but I guess he's putting the transgender people out because I got an email on that that they send out, or that they sent out, as far as they're working on guidance from this, and this. They'll keep us informed, yada yada yada, all that good stuff. But he's gotten pushback from that, and he's actually gotten rid of a couple commanding members, lieutenant colonels, things like that. But he's gotten pushback from that. He's gotten pushback from the unions. He's gotten pushback from all these legal teams, all these circuit judges. Have you ever seen another president that got this much pushback from everything they did?
No,
Yeah.
no, I believe this one set the record, dude.
Yeah.
Even when his first term, that was horrible.
Yeah.
Like the pushback, the Republicans even, fought him on everything.
Yeah.
But
Everybody's fighting him for everything. So I don't know if we're ever going to see anything totally beneficial happen to us as far as gas prices, as far as anything else. I think by the time we end up seeing it, it's going to be in the later years of his presidency when he's ready to get out.
disease, no more free weenie tucks.
Yeah. Uh, Paying to have some
Uh,
weenie tucks in the military. That's I don't even know what to say to that. That was
there's some of that useless spending, but hey, whatever. I mean, if you want to cut your stuff off, that's you, man.
yeah.
You just won't be able to produce anything.
Well, it's the fact that why are we paying for it? Why are we paying for it? You were in the military. If you decided that you wanted some type of plastic surgery, could you just go and get your plastic surgery done? The military pay for it.
But the only thing I would do is get an extension,
And
and I'm
extent.
not talking about hair.
I don't think they make extensions. There's a couple of procedures they do, but extensions isn't one of them. But yeah, why should we be paying for tummy tucks on these people that lose weight? Why should we be paying for cutting off twig and berries and making a taco out of it? Like, why are we paying for that? We shouldn't be paying for that. Yeah, but that's what we get to pay for with all our tax money because somebody said we had to do it.
Yep, yep. Ray says he's playing chess, not checkers.
He is. I think he's doing a good job, but I don't know how well he's going to do because he's got a lot. He's got a lot of people against him. That's for sure.
For sure. But he's going in knowing what he could do now.
Yeah. But, there's even, so I guess one of the things I wanted to talk about was, federal employees versus civilian employees. Well, I say civilian employees, but public versus private sector. So, government employees, I guess there's a lot of mixed feelings about government employees. A lot of people say government employees have it made. You get more time off, you get paid better pay, you get benefits, this, and this. Some of that's true, but some of it's not really true. Government employees, when I had the option to become a government employee or just go work on the public sector side or the private sector side, I could make more money going and working at Vanderbilt Hospital than I would as a government employee. But the exchange was benefits. So I look at it as kind of like you said, chess versus checkers. If I want to sit there and make more money and have less benefits, which might be more enticing as a younger person in their career, I'll go work for Vanderbilt and I can make all kinds of money. That's fine. I don't have an issue with it. But if I'm looking at my future, possibly retiring early, having more money and stuff like that, I'm probably going to look more for something that I know is going to secure that future. So I'm going to go to the
Yeah.
government house. So that's why I went to the government side of the house. The benefits are good, pays a little less, which it varies. If you've got no degree at all and you're coming fresh out of high school or the military or whatever, you got no degree, you can actually make more money than other people do on the private sector because they actually pay somewhat decent. But once you have a career field that requires a degree and stuff like that, and you start getting into your bachelor's and master's and things like that, you actually start making less money working for the government than you do in the private sector. But the benefits are generally somewhat better. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at here, But Congress with this new bill they've got out that passed the House that I guess is sitting over in the Senate, they're trying to cut government benefits because I guess they have to cut. I think it was 4.5 trillion or 4.5 billion in a 10-year period or something. I can't remember the exact numbers, but
So what type of benefits are they trying to?
so there's a couple difference that they're trying to do. Originally, when the bill came out, they were slashing a whole shitload of stuff. A lot of that got um, it passed the House for the most part. Got in the Senate. They're still messing with it over there, but originally they wanted to get rid of. Let's see, they wanted one of the things they got rid of was so for
I
voting.
mean,
If
y'all's
you
healthcare benefits are not that great, right?
Our healthcare benefits are okay. So I think the government pays about 60% of our healthcare. So let's say your total cost for a month for healthcare for a family is $1,000. The government pays 60% of it. So you're only out 400.
That's
So that's not too bad. That's actually pretty good. But you're also talking about the equivalent for me if I was working on the civilian side. But the equivalent for me if I'm working on the government side is if you put the money pay all the money to get the degree, but get paid less than you get a job needing. Well,
yeah.
yeah.
Then you have to pay back the student loans, which they pay less.
I've always thought student loans were a joke anyway. So yeah, my government benefits pretty good, but I got those government benefits by making slightly less money than I would in the private sector. But I did it so I could have a game plan for the future. So some of the benefits that they're cutting are like I could retire when I'm 57. 57 years old, they have a subsidy in place that kind of picks up for Social Security and everything, which that means for the time I'm 57 until Social Security kicks in at 62, I could collect that subsidy, which amounts to about $20,000 a year on average, and I could retire. But that subsidy would kick in and it would be there. The new bill that they're coming out with, they're getting rid of that subsidy altogether. So
That sucks.
there's not going to have a subsidy anymore. So now it's not, hey, you can retire at 57. Now it's, hey, you're going to have to retire at the minimum age that you can draw Social Security, unless you can retire and not have to have Social Security to keep you, your head afloat.
Yeah, but then they keep raising the age.
Right. So the age for Social Security retirement it goes up every year, and I think it actually goes up by a factor of there's a percentage that it goes up every year. I don't know exactly what the percentage is, but it's I don't even know what my age is for Social Security right now before I could even start drawing it without being penalized or something. But
Well, remember when we were in the military, and if you serve 20 years, you can retire and get your, pension, your pay, your retirement pay. Now, they've changed it all after we got out. So now it's the retirement age for these guys. They can, say retire after 20, but they won't see no money till the age of retirement.
yeah, so they've done some stuff with active duty too.
Yeah, that's crap.
Yeah, one of the guys up at work was talking about that. He said he got out, he retired, I think November of last year. So he said he met the cutoff to where he didn't, run into that issue. But yeah, that was gonna be a thing. Hey, yeah, you're retired. We'll give you some benefits, but we're not gonna pay you full money until certain. And
You're right about that, Ray.
I think that's if you work at all, unless you got money in the bank and you can do whatever the hell you want. Any place you work, you're a slave to. You
Yeah,
pay
yeah,
taxes, you're a slave.
yeah. So back to your benefits. You were saying something about voting.
Oh yeah, so I guess one of the newest thing Trump did was, I guess originally when Biden was in, he put out a thing saying that people get 4 hours of paid leave to go vote, which that's cool. It's never really affected me because I've always worked off shift, so I've never really had an issue with it. But I guess Biden implemented that, and then Trump went in and got it taken care of. So while they still have to let people off so long so that they can go vote, I don't think there's any such thing as, hey, we're going to pay you so you can go vote. And I don't disagree with that. I mean, I think you should afford people the time to take off to go vote for primaries and this, that, and other. But as far as paying them to go vote, why in the hell are you going to pay somebody to go vote? That's kind of like, to me, it's just interesting to sit there and say, hey, we're gonna pay you time off so you can go vote. What if those people don't want to vote? It's not they're just gonna go home and sit for 4 hours. You know, they're gonna still get paid. To where if you sit there and make it, hey, we'll give you the time off, but we're not gonna pay you for it. We're gonna have less people that actually go, whether they're voting or they're going home and sitting on their ass just because they're not getting paid for it. But if you
Okay.
notice, he did it when we've got a couple primary elections that are coming out here soon. And he implemented that and got it done right before some of those primary elections that are fixing to happen in the next month or two are fixing to take place. So it's like you said, it's I think he knows what he's doing. It's a game of chess, not a game of checkers. We'll see how that turns out. Hopefully it'll hopefully it'll benefit him, work its way out. I don't know. I guess we'll see.
So if you could talk to, say, directly to the people in charge, what would you tell them? Now I know you wanted me to tag Trump and Elon, before this podcast, but what would you tell the powers to be about what's going on?
I think the plan is a good plan as far as idea wise. Trim the fat, lean it up a little bit, get rid of this excess spending and some of these bullshit jobs that we don't need. But I think they need to refine how they're doing it. I don't think it should be every scenario is not going to cover everything. You can't put out um, a blanket order and say, hey, we're doing this because everybody's affected differently. Yeah, I think he did. But you can't just put out a blanket thing and say, hey, here you go. Um, y'all's jobs are all equal, so all y'all are getting cut equally. Because some jobs aren't equal. Actually, there's a lot of jobs that aren't equal. I'm not saying people aren't equal as far as value. Some jobs are more important than other people's jobs. Hate to say it, but I mean that's kind of the truth. It just Depends on what you do. If you're a geologist, job might not be as important as the virologist that we have when COVID-19 is going on, you know? So you can't just put out a blanket thing and say, let's get rid of all these people and make it fair and equitable to everybody. Just doesn't make sense to do that. So I guess if I was going to tell them something, they just need to refine the way that they're making all these cuts and how they're going about doing it. I don't disagree that cuts need to be made, but some jobs are more important than others, and they need to take that into accountability when they're making some of these cuts.
You ever heard of the Rothschilds?
Now,
Rothschilds?
enlighten me.
Well, so Ray, you know a little about the Rothschilds. Why don't you hit that button to come on to the show, and I will let you pop on in if you in your camera or on your phone and explain a little bit about this.
Are you talking about the super wealthy makes all the decisions for everything? Is that what you're talking about?
The first billionaires.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
If he decides to pop on and talk about it a little more, I'll be waiting. So, being that you're dealing with all this, I know it could be hectic, stressful, stuff like that. Even amongst coworkers, I mean, how do y'all keep yourself motivated and focused, with everything that's going on?
I don't know. I just keep to myself. I don't really have too much of an issue.
So I do it in the real world.
Right. Um, I don't know. So I see we've got like 6 people that are affected if this stuff goes through as far as if they start getting rid of people or something along those lines. We got 6 people they've already said that are, I guess you'd say, on the chopping block if they end up start getting rid of people. So just kind of watching how those people are dealing with things. I mean, they seem all right for the most part, but they're tracking that you know they could walk in tomorrow and not have a job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess the only good thing about it is uh, they do get some type of severance package to an extent, unless they have less than a year. Then they just see you later, have a good day. Thank you for your service. So I guess they're doing all right. They seem to be in somewhat high spirits. But I guess the biggest thing is we got a pretty good command system up there at the hospital. So they keep us informed for the most part. It may just be a feeling that they give. They might be absolutely horrible. They might not be advocating for anything, but then again, they might be advocating for this, that, and other. So I guess it's just we'll see what happens, what it amounts to.
Yeah. So you said you wanted to talk about the bill that they passed. I'm trying to get Ray on here for a minute. So do you want to talk about what they're trying to pass with that bill?
Oh, you mean like you're talking about the bill that passed the House that's gone to the Senate about federal employees
Yes.
and their benefits? So originally when it came out, it was, I guess it was kind of rough as far as what the bill included. I think they've made quite a bit of changes as far as not who's affected, but what type of benefits are affected. I think originally when it came out, the biggest issue was retirement. So originally they had, when we retire, when they average your retirement, it's your highest 3 salaries at the end of your retirement is what your retirement's based off. So, the last 3 years that you're in, those are your high 3 salaries. Now, let's say 3 years before you retire, you get your last pay raise, and like that caps you out. That's it. You're not going to get any more of a pay raise. You're maxed out, and you decide you're going to retire 3 years later. They take your high three, and it's what you capped out right there. But I guess the new thing they're trying to do with this bill, which I think they actually made a change to it when it went to the Senate and they got rid of it, but initially they wanted to make it to where it's a high five instead of a high three, which, if your last 5 years you're making $65,000 for year one, 65 for year two, 70 for year three, 70 for year four, and 70 for year five. If you take a high three, you're averaging $70,000. But if you take a high five, now you're averaging 65, 65, 70, 70, and 70. So you're losing thousands of dollars a year when they do stuff. But I think they actually got rid of that. Oh, they're going to keep doing the high three. That was one of the things that they stopped when it got to the Senate. I think the other big one that they did was they got rid of uh, what's it called? They got rid of the stipend. What I was talking to you about earlier about the retirement stipend that people get for Social Security if they retire before Social Security. They have a
Yeah.
stipend for so long, kind of picks up, helps offset that pay until they start getting Social Security. I think they actually got rid of that. It's gone. At least that's how it appears in the Senate bill. So I don't know. It's still being worked on. I don't think it's totally made its way all the way through yet. So it's just one of those wait and see what happens with the bill. But I don't think there's too many happy federal employees about it because, of course, it doesn't have any effect on your Congress or any of that stuff. It's just your federal employees. And we're
Yeah.
going to lose a lot of money. We're going to lose a lot of money with all these congressional people that serve a short tier, 4 years, 6 years, and they get paid, $120,000 for the rest of their life every year.
Yeah. Welcome on, Ray. How's it going, Tech? So, yeah, you were saying the Rothschild?
Well, that I think there's three primary families. I'm trying to remember what all three of them are. I know the Rothschild, one of them. But there's three primary families from my research. Obviously, our president has those first, but it's almost like we have to let them take it on as much as they do. That's essentially what this is. So it's not within their scope.
So, three primary families you think run like shadow government wise?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even call it a shadow government. It's just it just it is what it is. There's nothing in the shadow about it anymore. It seems to me they kind of shocked that you don't know since I found it out.
Yeah, I don't really follow a lot of the news anymore.
It's not going to be in the news.
It's
It's going to be
more
in the
watching the news and everything's depressing now.
just open up the stock market and watch that. You'll find out who the most important people are. But yeah, it's money. That's all it is. I mean, if you didn't think that our government is not in bed with everybody that we fight against the war, that's one of the first things that I learned whenever you didn't even really have to deploy this. You just have to be one of the national guard.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's a big game to the government how things are handled and the people. Yeah, they're playing checkers with us, and Trump's playing chess.
Yeah, that's really all it is. Because checkers is not a strategy game. It's nothing but power moves. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, and checkers is just power moves. It's just bombarding your way to the finish line.
Yep.
Yes, in chess you have to understand that there's strategy and there are some. So that's what it is.
Well, the only thing that sucks about it is this is Trump's last term, right? So he's on a time limit.
This is Donald Trump's last term.
So he's on a time limit. Hopefully, he'll get somebody in there that follow suit.
You're smirking over there, Tech.
But
You got an idea?
Like I said, this is Donald Trump's last term.
You talking about his son?
This is not Trump's last term. No,
Uh,
either. No, because the way I see it playing out,
JD.
the Democrats are going to raise all kind of hell because they want a female president so bad. They're going to get a female
Well, she's not. She's not from the U.S. though, right? You're talking about his
president. His daughter.
wife?
His daughter,
Okay.
Ivanka, will be our president. She's got the brains. She's got the balls. She's got it all.
yeah, I mean, I could see that. The only thing is I don't see how she's played politics in anything. Well, I mean, yeah, she has, but not not quite like I would expect to see somebody that's going to come out and say, "Hey, I'm going to run for president." I mean,
Trump would just run it from the back.
it could definitely change really soon, but I just haven't seen a lot of that. If that was a game plan to go to, I think it's totally. She's got the
You're
time.
absolutely right. Trump is going to run it from the back, just like the Bush family did. Just like the Bush family did. But right now, there's huge divides in our country. There's divides of black versus white, and believe it or not, men versus women. That's starting to become a big thing with the modern that high man, independence and strength and stuff like that, right? I mean, think about how much Donald Trump's election suffered just at the hands of women who had to walk on eggshells.
That's
There's kind of some deal breakers yet. And that you take somebody who's a beautiful blonde haired woman. What do you think they're not going to vote? Yeah, right now you have your standard, white male Republican man. That's Donald. You know, unless they eat the dog food. So yeah, that black vote gets that slight then you have the women. So it's white males, it's the black vote, and it's the female. Yeah, I think the female vote is both black and white. So those females, they're going to put aside their racial differences from what they have. So if you look at just the white, the female vote, and then you look at the heavy Republican vote, Ivanka's already got some.
That would be a good power move. Surprise.
A lot of people think it's fair. It's not.
I think JD Vance is a good runner too. I think they were talking about him running, and then after that, when Barron has some experience, but yes, a good. That's
you do have to be a minimum age. It'll be a while before Barron's able to take over something like that. He's not even at the age for running for president.
Oh, but he'll be a hell of a senator.
yeah.
So it is not Trump's last term. There's going to be a lot of Trump in politics.
Well, hopefully, we'll see how it goes.
It's going to be another Bush thing.
I think it has the potential to do it for sure. I'm just curious to see where it goes. To be honest with you, I think people are going to have. I don't know. I think there's a lot of people out there that are sitting on the fence as far as liking Trump, not liking Trump after electing Trump. Like I voted for the man. I like him. I think he's doing fine. There's a few things I don't agree with, but a lot of things I do agree with. 100% better than what the alternative was going to be. But I think there's a lot of people on the fence there that maybe they're a veteran that worked for the government and now they're being released after voting for him. They didn't think that was coming. I mean, I don't know. I just think it's way too early to see what's going to happen with stuff. But I think there's going to be some hurt feeling stuff that's going on that might potentially hurt what goes on for the next presidential election. I just don't know. Just don't know. I think the Democrats shot themselves in the foot with the whole election this past one. So
I think the Democrats are right. I think Donald Trump is a terrible president.
yeah,
I think they're absolutely right. But the problem is that he may not be the best president right now. The one that's needed. See, Robitussin tastes really bad, though. But it's always just a food.
stuff that works tastes horrible.
I think he is the president that is a politics. Well, the president should be a politician because although politics sucks, that's good. One interest, a relationship with us. He's a good businessman. And right now we're broke and we look absolutely awful.
yeah,
So we look like we have zero testicular fortitude, right? So we need a guy who's got a business brain. So it tastes bad.
yeah.
He's gonna get everything. He's gonna bring give us our ball.
Yep. I believe when the tariffs start working like they're supposed to, they'll be less reliant on taxes from the people that, they'll see the money coming in. Then you're going to gain the trust of these people back, they'll
Yeah.
see that it's actually working, but you're going to struggle at first when you're trying to go back and be self-reliant.
Well, I agree. I think it'll all work. There's nothing wrong with it. My thing is it's just like everything else. We expect stuff to happen immediately. We got smartphones. We want to see stuff immediately. It's not going to happen immediately. Is he going to get it done in his term? Is he going to get it done soon so he can keep these people? If it happens in a year, I think everything will be kosher. If it happens 6 months prior to him getting out, I think it may benefit us for the next president coming in. But if it's still in play and it's going to take another president to jump on and get that going, it might not be such a good thing. It might cause more problems. I mean, it all depends on how long it takes. Everybody wants stuff to happen so damn quick. Some things do, some things don't. And I don't see that this is going to be a quick process of getting done as far as quickly, just like we were talking about with gas prices and stuff. We expected to see it sooner. Here we are 6 months in, and we still haven't seen it. I mean, people want results. Fortunately, they want results like immediately, and that doesn't always happen. So hopefully, you can get the ball rolling on a few things and get the momentum going so that we can retain all this stuff and be doing good. But if it takes too long, I don't think people are going to have the fortitude to stay with him. I think it's going to cause growth.
Well, we do live in a now culture.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Look at we used to go to a blockbuster and rent a movie, wait to get a call. Now we
Yeah,
press it, we have the movie. You want
that's right.
somebody's going to deliver everything to you now. I want you to give me my shit before I order it. Look, what do you Amazon account? What I say? Yes, it's more again. So
Yeah.
whenever it comes to big changes in the country, you see people doing it now. They're one. They're not.
Oh, I kind of always joke at work, but we live in like a ADHD type state where everything's got to happen now, now, now. Everybody's so go, go, go. Think about how many people do you just look at and they can sit still and just relax in their own thought for a minute? Somebody's always got to be on a phone. Somebody's always got to be. Everybody's so go, 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 and I think that's hopefully Trump can get the ball rolling on all this stuff and we can start seeing some results because I know I'd love to see my grocery bills go down. I think everybody else would too. Same with the fucking price of gas. Gas is just another one of them things. We can start seeing that stuff happen. I think I have a lot more faith in what he's got going on. Uh, the younger generation, I do say it's the younger generation because that's where I see a lot of this stuff. They want things now, 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 now. Even like in the healthcare field, come in for they come in for something and they're like, "Hey, I got stomach pain. It needs to go away now." Well, it's a stomach bug. It's either going to be 24 or 72, one or the other. You'll be all right. Keep yourself hydrated. You'll be okay. No, it needs to be fixed now. It doesn't work like that. But that's the custom thing that everybody's gotten to is there's a fix for everything right now, whether it's like you were talking about with Amazon, getting it right now, or even getting a paycheck 3 days before you're supposed to get paid because your bank credits it to your account, or this, and this. Everybody is so fast paced and right now, and it's not like it used to be, especially back when I was a kid and learning my early adult years and starting to work and stuff like that. It's a big difference nowadays. So
Yeah, that's definitely not like it used to be. But if I had to do it all over again, I think, I'd just still be living with my parents, making a paycheck, not paying a rent or money, a house note. No, no, just
if I
kidding,
could do
guys.
it all over again, I would invest in Bitcoin back in 2009 and just be fucking living it up.
Dude, you'd be like off that episode of where they put it on the little thumb drive and they lost it.
Oh yeah, that'd be my luck. Or I'd have done like the dude where he bought all those pizzas with Bitcoin, and now it's worth like
Big Bang Theory.
yeah, it's
No,
worth so
listen,
much money.
that's a popular thought, man. I'd tell my younger self to get into Bitcoin.
Yeah,
But honestly, that's not where the money is. Ooh, you want ready to really mess your life up? You know those beanie babies that McDonald's used to get?
yeah.
Heart on it that had J on it? No, no, these come in a Happy Meal. Some of those are selling for $250,000.
Yeah.
Happy Meal toy. My wife has six of them in her closet that she saves, and one of them is a white ankle, like one brown eye and one black eye. It's supposed to be like a 200 pound.
Right, you should have just sold that already. No.
I'd probably get $20 for it right now because it's out the package and it's dirty. Especially
Right.
places that as a kid, it's like all you can do with it after you. But man,
Well,
if I could
Yeah.
go back to my former self, man, I would be.
Never take them out of the wrapper.
Nope, put them in an
Uh,
iron box and stick them in a safe deposit somewhere.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I could do a lot of different things if I could see my former self. If you could see your former self and tell your former self three things, yeah, I can name all three of those things. One would be invest in Apple. One would be invest in Bitcoin, and the other one, well, I'm not gonna say what the other one would be. It's between me and myself. But yeah, I can think of three things for sure. For sure.
I would meet a guy named Doc and warn him against mouthy females who like to ride bikes.
yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. See how
I don't know. I'm waiting on her to comment. She's probably not watching right now.
Man,
She watched for a minute and then rolled out. We'll find out because she would have texted fast.
I saw you looking over to the side, so I just wanted to be loud enough to start her up.
Oh no, she ain't in here. I'm in the room,
Okay.
in the podcast, or in the man room.
Boy, I can't wait.
Yeah, you know she doom scrolling TikTok.
He said, tell that mother.
Oh yeah, disease gonna invest in Pornhub, huh? Yeah, I know what you mean. Porn
little corn hub investment there for
be the next Hugh Hefner.
yeah.
Or so here's a cool little fact is so when this was about 20 years ago, really, I lived in an area where pizza delivery was ever followed through with it. It's probably one of the biggest regrets of my life. Contact with a company that does your idea and they help you develop a business plan, but it costs money. And you don't money to do this. I was too painful and ask anybody for help. And I thought it was probably going to be a blunder of an idea, but I couldn't get any pizza delivered to my house. If I can like order McDonald's and somebody would go get it for me and bring it to my house. And I even came in here to call this it's later. So I had that logo and everything. I called it the Delivery Bits and stuff. I really like to help you, develop your idea. It's going to cost this much money and you can two things.
That would have been good. I think
Look at it.
the reason that places like that survived is when they launched. They really launched it. I guess they came more prominent in the COVID time frame. I think that's why they did so well. Otherwise, I don't know how well they would have went. But, people got used to it in COVID. Now we still use it. They even use it for groceries, things like that. Get my shit delivered to me, and it makes a big difference.
See, I thought about the same thing. Tech is back then. I thought about grocery shopping for people and bringing it to their house.
Yeah,
And then next, I'm talking about a year later. Look, I created like a web page and like a little thing, and I ain't even sent it out yet. And here goes grocery getters, whatever. And then now it's Uber Eats, and then now you have the big companies like Walmart that are taking over and doing it themselves, instead of people doing it. So they're trying to get rid of the middleman.
yeah,
Yeah, I'd have definitely told myself to push forward with that.
yeah. I don't know if I've ever had any good ideas like that. If At least if I did, I sure as hell don't remember
Let's see, it seems like every good idea you're a little late on.
them. Right?
I don't think I've ever had any good idea.
Invention Submission Company.
You can't
Mhm.
you can't sum up your life like that, brother.
Nah, I've had good ones, just not as good as those. Mine's always had consequences to them, some worse than others.
It should work itself out, man, with the tariffs and everything else. It's going to take some time for sure. Not going to be an overnight thing. As long as we don't have the next administration coming in and messing stuff up, going backwards, you know.
Cool. Yeah. Well, it's yep, cold as the mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's just play it by ear. But every administration that comes in fucks something up. They always do.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully, they won't fuck it up too bad.
So, what was your original topic?
So the original topic is see, Barker's a federal employee, and now they're dealing with their unions going in limbo, possible benefits. Some of the benefits are changing, stuff like that. So we were talking a little about what the unions provided, the good, the bad. You know, how's the employees taking it? You know,
So
so
it's a hot topic for anybody that's a federal employee. It's as far as the benefits go, it's still being, I guess the House passed the bill on that. We're just still waiting to see what the Senate has to say about all that stuff. They'll make changes and go from there. But it's literally Republicans versus Democrats on that whole scale of shit. But as far as the unions go, they're trying to figure out still trying to figure out, do we follow the union rules? Do we not follow the union rules? Trump's kind of getting rid of some of the stuff with the unions because he's saying it's a national security issue. And then you got one judge saying that you can't make that decision. It has to be made by Congress because you can't do, I guess, the executive side of the House can't do mass layoffs like he's wanting to do. It needs to be enacted by Congress. This, that, and other. Anyway, it's going to turn into a whole Supreme Court thing. But instead of their come or instead of coming out with a like letting each department how they want to make cuts and everything, it's just kind of a blanketed, we're going to make this many cuts regardless of the situation. So we're seeing it affect people differently, like the same cuts that healthcare gets is the same cuts cybersecurity gets, same cuts military police gets, the same cuts that engineers gets, like everything's the same, and all those jobs are weighted, well, they're weighted differently, if you have fast food employees that work at commissaries and stuff and they've got to make cuts over there, are those the same, like I don't want to say anybody's job's not as important as other job, but I mean, I guess I am. Some jobs are slightly more important than other jobs. Not to sound like an ass, but some jobs just are more important than other jobs. And he's kind of come out with a blanket thing of we're going to make cuts across the board to every job. So unfortunately, the bad side of the house is when you make that same cut with people that do cybersecurity or people that do healthcare or people that do law enforcement or air traffic controllers and stuff like that. I mean, that's a broad cut to be done. Think about safety issues and issues that you run into with that. I would think you would want to get rid of maybe less or jobs that may not have as much of an impact on public safety first before you started going after jobs that have more of an impact on public safety, if that makes sense.
You see a lot of people jump this shit.
Yeah, man. Surprisingly, we have. And the odd thing about it, it's not our older people that are leaving because, obviously they've got the time invested and all that. It's the younger people. Um, they took the job of being a younger person. I guess if I could do it all over again, I don't know if I would go the route of the government system because I can make so much more money on the private sector. So, if I go to Vanderbilt hospital in Nashville and work in the ER there, I can probably make $10 more an hour working there. The trade off is the benefits that you give up from the federal system by going and working at a place like that. So if I'm young, I want to make money, 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 and I'm healthy and I'm not totally worried about my health benefits and things like that, I'm going to take more money. Who the hell doesn't want more money? But if I'm going to look in the long term of I need my health benefits because I have health problems and I know are going to get worse as I get older. So I'm going to go for the government system so I can keep those health benefits. I understand I'm going to make a little less money working for the government, but in the end, in the long run, my benefits are going to outweigh what I would have if I was working for the private sector. Um, and that's what I chose to do. So the people we're seeing jump ship are your younger people that don't have a lot of government time invested, and they're like, well, shit. I'm still young enough. I'm relatively healthy. I don't have a family really, or, I'm just starting out. I don't have any kids. I'm going to go make that money. So they're leaving and they're going and making that money in the private sector and not working for the government. And the thing that I worry about that is, if they go that route and that becomes a trend to where that's how it is, we're going to have issues down the line with trying to fill those gaps for people that are rolling out. It's not going to be as competitive as far as getting people in to fill those roles that you would have on the private sector. So ultimately, we won't be able to compete with private sector as far as jobs and stuff go. And it in the long term, it may affect your stuff as far as public safety with, like air traffic controllers. It's a federal job. Those are federal employees. What if it starts affecting your healthcare workers and the federal stuff? That means we don't have enough people to treat the active duty military that's rolling through. Their stuff gets bogged down. What's the first thing they do if you're flagged on your med pros? You can't deploy. So they have to turn around and get you unflagged by having you go do all these different things. I mean, you bog a bunch of stuff down because you don't have enough people to treat these people, because you can't be competitive like the private sector because you got rid of all these different people. So it's interesting. I'm afraid it's going to have long term effects with what they're doing, and that's kind of where I'm at with it. The older generation of people are staying with the government system; they're waiting it out because we've been through this shit before. But the younger generation of people, they're rolling out. Especially when Trump sat there and said, "Hey," or Elon Musk came out with that fork in the road shit, and they said that you could roll out and still collect a paycheck, not have to show up to work, and you'd still get paid through the fiscal year. We had a shitload of people. We had a lot of people leave. And the problem with that is put more work on us to see patients and stuff like that. And then they're not hiring anybody because they're cutting people. So now we've, got twice the patient load, making the same amount of money, doing twice the work, and there's no reprieve in sight as far as seeing being able to hire new people. And they're still talking about cutting more people, and now they're talking about cutting our benefits. It just makes for a sore topic sometimes. Yep.
All right, so Tech had to get off. I appreciate it, Tech. I appreciate you coming on there.
Yeah, thanks, man.
All right, till next time, brother.
TSP is good. It's not as diverse as other 401ks, but it does pretty good. And they do say you have more government workers that are millionaires when they do retire in the end because of all the benefits and TSP and stuff. I mean, I guess that's a bonus.
A disease used to work in the federal government too. Now he's retired medically.
Yeah, so I guess we'll see where it goes and play it by ear. But so far, we kind of stabilized. We haven't lost too much now. If they come in and tell us the union stuff goes away and we got to get rid of those 6 people, man, I don't know what they're gonna do. I'll be working. I'll be working 60-hour, 70-hour work weeks. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, it'd be crazy.
So, what would you say to your coworkers who's worried about these changes? I know you said you keep to yourself, but I know you have some coworkers that you like to work with. So,
I don't
I
know.
mean, what would you tell someone?
I guess I'd tell them like everybody else. It's not the first time the government's been on blast for something. It's not the first time federal employees have been on blast for something. Just wait it out. We always wait it out. It always seems to materialize or somewhat get better. Just wait it out and go from there. I mean, that's about all we can do. I tell them they're in a good field. Um, they can definitely get a job somewhere else if they do have to roll out. But I don't know. It's what you tell them. It's what you tell everybody. It'll be all right. It's just a waiting game.
I'll
It'll
tell
be.
you, when you said it's not the first time the government's been on blast.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of something because every company is always, they always have something they want to change. Okay. So be it an industry where you're doing construction. Okay. Say they get bought out. They're going to make changes. Or say insurance policies are going to change, or they're going to take away a lot of stuff. If something increases, every company will have a change. And no, we're all humans that do not like change. It takes us gradual steps to get used to something. And, I admit for myself, I don't like change, like a big change, but I've learned being in the military that, I adapt, overcome, and move on.
Right.
So I don't want to say it like that to civilian world, but it's true. You have to be able to adapt. There's always going to be someone that's going to try to ruffle your feathers, make you angry, try to make you quit, whatever it may be. There's going to be that one dickhead that's going to try to do something.
Yep.
So, just hold in there and, things will get better. That they go to a low point and they have to come up. There's no, once you get so low, you can't go any lower.
Well, they call it rock bottom for a reason, you can only go up from there. So
Yeah.
we'll just see how it goes. But yeah, I talked to one particular employee up there because she was worried about her job. And I just told her, you're young, yeah, you're married, y'all don't have any kids right now, you don't have any major expenses. You've only been working here for, about a year now. So she's still in that probationary status. I said, if God forbid, if something happens to you here, you got a good skill, you got a good career, you can be pretty easy for you to get a job elsewhere, need be, if you had to, and you'll be fine. It's not like you're 52 years old getting ready to retire in the next year or two, and then it's all falling apart and you're let go. I was like, you'll be all right. I think
See, that's the one thing, Barker, that the government should do is that if they're gonna revoke something or say get rid of, it should be across the board. And I'm talking about politics. I'm talking about if the federal employee, if they're worried about the federal employee, how much benefits they get, I think it needs to be revoked across the board.
yep,
Politicians should get it removed.
yep,
Them guys, man, they can serve one term and they have health care for the rest of their life.
yep.
But if a soldier puts their life on the line and say they join during wartime, get sent overseas, get, God forbid, blown up, and come back, and they have to fight the VA just to get a coverage. You know what I'm saying? So I believe that the politicians should be held to the same standard as a federal employee or a veteran or whatever. They should have the same benefits. So that means the politician's going to fight for you if they had to share the same benefit that you do.
Well, that's why they all vote on their own stuff. Everything they vote on is they make an exception to it. They're the exception to the rule. So they can sit there and vote and say taxes are going to be, the same across the board for everybody. And they're going to accept the taxes and it'll be okay. But then they say, like when Obamacare or yeah, it was Obama, the Affordable Care Act. They called it Obamacare. When it came out, they were saying how everybody has to have Obamacare, this, and this, all that stuff. You got to have health insurance. You can buy it on this plan, yada, yada, yada. And then they were talking about for a while they're making federal employees uh, purchase their own insurances through the whole Obamacare stuff, or reducing how much they're going to pay in
That
federal
was garbage.
and stuff like that. They made the exception that it wasn't going to affect Congress, and that's what they do. They do everything to benefit them. I guess at this point in time in my life, I've seen them say, uh, as far as Congress goes, they do everything to benefit them. They do everything to get themselves rich. They do everything to benefit the rich, and they create a divide between the rich and the poor. Uh, you have the working class that just pays for everything.
Big Mike cares.
That's just what I've seen, just my impression of what I've seen. That's what I've seen.
Yeah. But wouldn't you say if we held them at the same standard, they would fight? They would fight, like, say, if they had to share the same benefits, same retirement, you know what I'm saying? They would fight y'all would have better, y'all would be in a better place. Let's just say that.
Well, let me ask you this. If Congress wasn't about the power and the money, because right now it's about having the power and having the money. If it wasn't about the power and it wasn't about the money, they only got paid when they were in office. They couldn't trade, no stocks, no nothing like that while they're in there. Kind of like the whole Nancy Pelosi thing where she made millions and millions of fucking dollars for insider
Insider
trading
trading, man.
because her
Insider
husband did
trading.
it, even though she sat on the fucking board and they said that was still legal. No.
That's horseshit.
Yeah.
That's insider trading.
So if you held them to that standard, do you think you would still get the same type of people running for Congress and stuff there?
No, you would not.
I don't think you'd
But
get the same.
Dude, if we were the fools that left our stash in the White House during a tour, we'd be under the damn jail cell, dude. We'd be Guantanamo. We'd be, I don't know, we probably would have been on that plane saying that we're not American and shipped back to South America, you
It's
know?
kind of like Tech said, it all boils down to money. If you got the money, you got the
You're
power, you
right.
got the country.
You're right about that. I wish I had the money, I'd share the love, I'd take care of my friends, my family. But
Yeah. Well, maybe one day. Maybe one day.
yeah, one day, if I ever make it to the same pedestal as Joe Rogan, guys, you know,
Hey, it's a real
I will
possibility.
I will definitely, share the wealth.
Yeah.
I will invest, but then I will share the wealth.
There you go.
But, you know, just got to keep moving forward, man. Do
Yeah.
not give up. And you know, every every day you have to strive to make one thing better. So if there's something not good in your life and you need to make sure that you choose one thing and you're going to make it better. And if you continue to do that until it's an everyday thing, what can I do to better myself? Is it the way I talk? Is it the way I look? Or, just got to strive and be better, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree, man. I agree. Try and do one good thing a day is my philosophy. Sometimes that happens,
I'll be,
sometimes it doesn't, but
yeah, see now.
yeah.
I could see that. You're not far from it there, disease.
Well, just give it time, man. Everybody starts somewhere, right?
Oh, absolutely, man. I do this because I enjoy it. Okay. Because, how many things have I started and I've started a lot of things in my life, and some things I'm like, nah, it's not for me.
Right.
But, doing the podcast stuff, I enjoy talking to everybody. I get to talk to people across the country, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Across the country. And then they tell their friends, and then they reach out to me, and and look, who would have thought I would have been interviewing, bands, members of the bands. Now, you got to give it to me. I know the guy. You do too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been a long time
Yep.
running. Yeah.
Yep, disease. I did. I actually made some friends down in Mexico, and then I made some friends in Africa. So, when you say the world, I mean, sooner or later, I may be doing a podcast with people across the world.
Yeah.
So,
Have to do an interview with
but
somebody
yeah, man,
from Djibouti, Africa next,
go ahead. Oh, man, I'd go ahead, man. Anybody that would like to come on the podcast and like to share their experience, man, all they have to do is hit me up.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they like to charge. Okay. That's what I don't understand. Okay. So when one of the bands reached out to me, they were like, man, do you charge to go on your podcast? I'm like, no, man. Look, I do this because I enjoy it. And then I spread, like, say, your music. I help share your music. There's
Yeah.
people that haven't heard of you in this part, so I just enjoy it. I've been reaching out to some storm chasers. I know they're busy right now for sure with all the weather and up north, the tornadoes and stuff, but
Well,
whatever, dude.
an exception to the rule there. You're just the exception to the.
You charge me every time. Whatever, dude. But no, yeah, it's one of those things. You get on and BS and, see where it goes. And there's a lot of information like you put out tonight that, some people don't really know. Like, I don't follow along anymore with the news because, it's hard to believe anything in the media today.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, all the stuff that I
Whatever, dude.
know of is emails I've gotten through work emails or reading stuff myself from various different sites. You can't trust any one site to look at anything.
Oh man, when you research something, research it because don't go stop at the first thing you see. And let me tell you, my father's bad about that, and he will see something on Facebook and he'll send it to me. He's like, "You see this? You see this?" I'm
Yeah.
like, "Look, Dad," I said, do a little research but I got to give it to him. He's an older guy. They didn't grow up with the technology that we had, and yes, yes, you're right about that because AI can trick you now. It's so good
Hmm.
that it'll trick you. But yeah, like I tell him, I was like, look, you can't believe everything you see, and if you even think, just research it. Do a couple researches, because say if you have four media stations and it says the same thing. Okay, there's a little more, like, say if they're all saying the same thing, being that they don't talk to one another, then yes, might be true, but I wouldn't just go based off of one.
Yeah, I've seen. I had a buddy of mine send me a link for a Facebook video that he had, and it had some guy in there, and he was talking about using Chat GTP, whatever it is, using that shit to place bets and stuff with the stock market on when to buy, what to buy, when to sell, all that shit. And like, if you watch the video, it's got this guy. He shows he's typing in this different stuff. He's taking a screenshot picture of the market and the dips and shit like that, and he's buying all this different stuff. And he's like, yeah, I think I'm gonna start doing that. And I was like, I don't see how that's like real at all. I mean, is it? What do you think? Is it? It's can you sit there and use AI to sit there and make fucking money off the stock market? I mean, I don't understand.
Just use the Pelosi tracker.
Low C
You
tracker.
don't need ChatGPT. No. Now, it
But
kind of sucks about them new employees you're telling me about. New and federal employees. Not say you were there 6 months and then now you're going to have to leave, look for a new job.
but most of them are younger people. I think they'll be all right regardless of the situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
The downfall of it is like, we got one guy that he's been there for, I don't know, 10 or more years, and then he left for a year, took a job elsewhere due to his and some issues that they were having going on. So he left the government system for a year, 2 years, something like that. And then he came back and started working with us again. So mind you, he's got, 10 plus years now. He did come back to the government system, but because he left and then came back, he still falls in that 1 year probationary period. So, and he's older. He's probably about 10 years older than me and you. So if he ends up getting let go, he's in his late 40s, early 50s. So if he gets let go, he's at that point where it could make a huge difference in his retirement situation, whether retiring earlier or working all the way up until he's like 70, 75, big difference.
Now, you did touch on the bill that was supposedly passing. Is that correct?
So I guess the bill passed the House, in the Senate, and
This is the
in the
big, beautiful bill?
I don't know if it's called the Big Beautiful Bill. I don't know the name of the bill. I can look it up real quick.
So the one that's supposed to overtime taxes.
Oh yeah, I think that's part of the bill.
So
Yeah.
you know anything about that?
I haven't read a lot into the Big Beautiful Bill. I think I did read that there's going to be no no taxes on tips and a few other things, but I don't think it
I think they changed something for
overtime.
overtime employees.
Yeah, I don't think you get
I
overtime.
think it's I think it's only to a certain amount that you
Right.
make.
It's
So
not
like
good.
say if you make over 120,000, then you're not going to get that.
Yeah, I'd have to look into it. I don't know really what that bill, what the details are in that bill, but I know that when I was talking to my wife, because she watches the news, she's a big Fox News watcher. But anyway, she was watching and they were talking about it, and she said, "You're not working a lot of overtime this year, are you?" And I was like, "I don't plan on it." She's like, "Good, because we're gonna end up paying taxes on it." I was like, "I thought he said we weren't gonna have to pay taxes on overtime." She said, "Nope, we make too much money. We're gonna be paying taxes on overtime." I was like,
That sucks.
"Well, it sucks."
You don't have to make much over 90 grand to pay taxes. That's what's retarded. I could see, okay, I make 180,000, 200,000. You want to hit me a little more for taxes, fine. But when I don't even make over six figures, and you want to hit me for a godly amount of taxes, I think something's wrong. Hey, say a little off topic while you're looking that up. Did you notice that the pharmaceutical companies are doing their thing again? And what I mean is, remember how they're using medical marijuana for PTSD, stuff like that, mental health illnesses?
Yeah.
And well, now they're trying to do that propaganda again, talking about what's linked to this disease or it's causing heart disease, or they're trying to put out propaganda again like they did in the 50s. It's a revolving door, dude.
Yeah. Um, I guess we just lost internet here.
You
Uh,
lost internet.
oh damn power went off on the street. Came back on here at the house, or either we're on a generator. See any power at my neighbor's house, so I guess we're on generators.
He's having some technical difficulties.
I
I
mean,
still see you blurry, but it's going to upload clear. So if guys that are watching, I'll put the new HD video up. So if y'all want to rewatch it or something, if not, drop in the comments, show some love, share, follow, but
yeah, yeah, I think we're on generator here at the house. But anyway, yeah, it's I don't know. It's interesting. Be curious to see where everything goes with Trump and all this stuff. Curious to see where stuff goes with these federal employees, and then like to see how this big beautiful bill they're talking about is gonna pan out and everything. What is it? It's supposed to be making 4.5 trillion in cuts over 10 years or something along those lines.
do not get me to lie to you, dude, because I stopped I stopped following along because I'm gonna tell you, just like at work when they say we're gonna give you this or we're gonna make it worth your while or
Gave it to you.
something like that, they all take it away when it comes down to the final cut.
Yep.
So I don't even pay it no attention, man. What happens happens. If I got to vote, I'll vote, but I'll research it then. What I'm gonna vote on.
Yeah. I don't believe anything until I see it at this point. I think overall Trump's got a good plan. I just think he can do a little better when it comes to implementation, to be honest with you. But I do agree
Hey,
we're fucking blowing through so much money federal government wise. It's like Tech was saying, we need a politician, but we need a businessman to get us straight before we kind of get in that realm of things. And it's gonna
yeah.
hurt everybody a little bit before it gets better, but it's a point of waiting and seeing how bad it's gonna hurt before we get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think when you have a businessman, you can't be bought. That's what I think. When you have a politician, you can be bought.
I don't know. I think anybody can be bought for the right price. I think the only difference is when you're a businessman, it's not the money that's gonna buy you. It's something else. But when you're the
Yep.
president, you've already got the power, so makes it a little harder to come up with something that you're gonna want to be bought, you know? Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, ultimately, I think everybody's got their price. It's just a point of what that price is. But I think Trump, being the fact that he doesn't need the money and he's got the power, I don't think there's a whole lot that people can go after to buy him, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. You're right about that disease. Everyone can be threatened.
That's true. But you know what? They've been threatening him since he was in his first term.
Yeah.
They drug him through the fucking mud, did the whole impeachment shit. They've done everything. I think at this point he's got the attitude of I don't give a shit. You know?
Yeah. I
What's this?
tell you what, so disease, I actually could probably get a lawyer in on this conversation that you want to talk about. Because acquaintance of mine has been fighting the carbon capture stuff in our parish. So what it is carbon injection. So they'll create pipelines to go to one specific well or multiple, and they will inject the carbon coming off of industrial plants or production equipment, and it will be injected deep into the earth,
Right.
which they're saying, look, government tells me it's safe. Yeah, hard to believe. Anyway, so I found a research paper that I also sent to this lawyer, by the way, and the paperwork is studies that were done in Texas. So there was like a study of like 20 wells. They injected carbon dioxide. Well, out of the 20, only 3 were, beneficial, like actually done what it was supposed to. The other ones were failures. There also the amount of money to build such a, I guess, setup, it's not worth it. Okay. And then if it leaks through, gets into the water table, the lakes, It can kill fish. It displaces oxygen. So if it come up into a neighborhood, you can wipe out a neighborhood within, a matter of seconds, so
Damn.
and they have some test wells going on too here in Allen Parish. Also, I guess Exxon is overseeing this project now.
Uh,
The people did not want it,
wells for
and
you
it
mean
still got passed.
like oil wells or
They might be reusing old oil wells, but I think they're gonna have to drill deeper.
what's the
It's
purpose?
right now. I'm not really sure.
It's interesting. I
It's gonna be like an oil well, though. Yeah, there's a lot of discrepancies. A lot of people talking about it.
to get some more information on that. I'd like to hear more about that for sure.
Yeah,
Well, I'm gonna have to call it quits here in a little bit, so I gotta go check see what's going
yeah,
on out
man.
there. But
Yeah,
it's been
not
a
a
blast.
problem.
It's been good. I'll have to get back on here with y'all.
Yep, and you have to look out for my next show because next Saturday I have a guy coming on, Ulrich, and he's out of North Carolina. Plays the blues
Nice.
and jazz. So
That's
he's
always
gonna
good.
also be he's also gonna be playing for us too. So I seen him drop in on the show tonight. So he's a Marine. Yep. So everybody look forward to next Saturday. I got the links are in the ad in my Facebook, so y'all can come in, chat, comment, drop by.
I like it,
But
man.
as
Yeah, I'll be at work, but I
well,
usually keep my podcast stuff on kind of to the side and listen to it as I can. So
oh yeah, not a problem, man. But hey, I appreciate it. Good
yeah,
hearing from
thanks
you
for
again.
having me, man. It's a pleasure and an honor. Thank you.
I'm trying to wrap up my new podcast studio, getting this room ready, man. And I won't need these green screens. Every
Cool.
time I've had some people come on and they're like, man, is that brick back there? I'm like, nah, man, that's green screen.
I,
They were like thinking I got my studios looking like this. I'm like, I don't live in a brick house.
say one day,
No.
man, one day I'll be there.
Yeah,
Cool.
one day, man. One day, somebody wants to sponsor me big time and provide me a studio. I'm
Get you a good
always
car.
ready. No, but hey, man, I just want you have a good night and thank y'all for tuning in with BSing with Y Eagle Y. And thank my producer up there, Disease, which y'all can't see him, but he's been helping me out with the comments and, monitoring that. Just shout out to him. All right. Thank y'all. Have a good night.